A million miles our vagabond wheels clocked up beneath the clouds. They're counting down to showtime when we do it for real with the crowds. Air miles are owing, but they don't come for free, and they don't give you any for pain. But if it's all for nothing, all the road running has been in vain.
The rim shots come down like cannon fire and thunder off the wall. There's a man in every corner, and each one is given his all. This is my piper, this is my drum, so you never will hear me complain. And if it's all for nothing, all the road to run has been in vain. All the road to run, all the road to run.
Well, if you're inclined to go up on the wall, it can only be fast and high. And those who don't like the danger soon find something different to try. And when there is only a ring in your ears and an echo down memory lane, then if it's all for nothing, all the road running has been in vain. All the road running, all the road running, all the road running, all the road running.
The show's packing up, I sit and watch the car leaving town. And there's no pretending I'm not a fool for riding around and around. Like the pictures you keep of your old wall of death you showed me one time on a plane. But if it's all for nothing, all the road around.
Welcome to you all as we gather together to say our final farewells to Mary, whilst expressing our deep feelings of sadness that Mary is no longer present in our lives. I'd like to start the service by thanking Rachel, Jem, Catherine, Lynn, Lindsay and Chrissy for accompanying Mary on her final journey into chapel today. Walking beside someone that you have affection or love for is the last thing that we can do for them. So we thank you for the role that you have played in this final act of love and devotion and appreciate your pride, dignity and love. Although our service today is about us sharing our emotions and feelings of sadness that Mary is no longer present in our lives, I urge you all to recall how she always remained incredibly positive in her life. Now, Mary was never one to feel sorry for herself. She seemed to be gifted with the ability to absorb brightness and inspiration and hope, even at the darkest of times. As we come to terms with our loss, it's Mary's kindness and strength of character and love that remains in our hearts. And whilst tears may fall today, please remember Mary wasn't a miserable person, so it's okay to smile as you think of the special times that you shared with her. Let me share with you a little of what I've learnt about Mary. Mary Theresa Whitton was born in Whitehaven, Cumbria, on the 19th of May 1949 to Monica and Irish-born Michael Balfe. Over the years, Mary and her dad shared a strong bond. The two of them were always very close. Mary was one of three, with a brother Kevin, and her sister Viv sadly passed. Mary became a niece to many, including Auntie Teresa and Uncle John. Now, in later years, Mary was an auntie to Andrew and Lindsay, as well as a fairy godmother to Rachel and Jenny, who meant the world to her. Mary was only a tiny baby when her father decided to move the whole family to Valley on Anglesey. Michael thought his building skills would lead to bigger and better roles, and then his aptitude in the building industry would soon be recognised and appreciated. However, when Mary was around 2.5, her father's quest for change led to the family moving to Orrell. During Mary's formative years, she often travelled to Millom in Cumbria to visit her grandmother, Aunt Teresa and Uncle John. And it was Auntie Teresa who taught Mary her sewing skills, which she carried with her throughout her whole life. Mary spent much of her schooling years being taught by the nuns at Wigan Girls' Convent. Mary wasn't particularly a conformist, and at times found the strict regime stifling, often resulting in her being reprimanded by the nuns, who never managed to tame that mischievous streak. Some may say she was outspoken and opinionated, but that was balanced out by her wicked sense of humour. If Mary had been educated in recent years, many would have welcomed her strong personality and sense of fairness. She would have made an excellent role model as a leader in many ways. Now, during her school years, Mary taught herself how to curtsy to the landed gentry. She was delighted later when Queen Elizabeth visited Hinds and absolutely thrilled to be the only person to curtsy correctly to our Queen. During her school years, Mary took a job at Woolworths on the biscuit counter. She then spent her hard-earned money on fabric and used her exceptional skills to design and create a new outfit every week. Mary then went to work in the pathology labs at Wigan Hospital whilst studying as a medical microbiologist on day release at Harris College until she qualified in 1972. It was then that Mary's working life began at Hinds. At first, she was based at their Standish factory before moving to Kit Green. From there, she ventured into production, taking on a variety of roles before finishing her career as a senior manager for contracts and facilities. She did this until she retired at the age of 62. Now later, Mary felt she still had much more to offer, and she became a volunteer at Whitton Hospital, which she thoroughly enjoyed. In the mid-70s, Mary met her lifelong friend Catherine at Hinds. Now, she was on placement from college working in the quality control lab, and they clicked immediately. Two practical people who understood each other, and that bond remained strong for life. Catherine recalled when they first met, one of their first jobs was to go into the factory at lunchtime to taste plates of food, such as beans or soup. Factory rules stated that the staff had to wear a turban. However, the fabric provided was incredibly long, and Catherine really struggled wrapping the fabric around her pea head, as she calls it. And whilst both were laughing, Mary stepped in and managed to fix the turban correctly. Mary had a very distinct sense of humour, something that Catherine immediately got. Catherine said she recalled Mary always carried her toolkit in her bag everywhere so she could fix things. Mary soon became part of Catherine's family. After Catherine and Steve's daughters were born, Mary was a constant presence in their family life. So much so, the girls called her Auntie Mary or Maz. And she was really their fairy godmother. As Steve often worked away, Mary spent lots of time at the family home, keeping Catherine and the girls company and joining in with household activities. Catherine and Mary shared several interests, and in particular sewing, and Catherine was always grateful for Mary's guidance and advice, and always appreciated Mary's help when her mistakes needed rectifying. Now, as Catherine had passed her driving test before Mary, she often accompanied Mary on various trips. Catherine recalled Mary was a speed freak. They encountered quite a few scary moments with Mary behind the wheel, but she had no fear in driving and thought nothing of driving every other weekend to Cardiff to visit Viv to complete a weekend of painting, decorating and any other DIY skills. Mary enjoyed several interests, in particular 10-pin bowling, but like everything she did, Mary quickly mastered the art of bowling and played in a league with others, including Jackie Backy and Marjorie. They would often travel the length of the country exploring the different bowling establishments. Mary's way of relaxing was to knit, sew or read, which she often combined with steeping her feet and watching the television all at the same time. Over the years, she'd made many sets of curtains and coordinated home furnishings, and as you would expect, all to exacting standards. Mary had a talent for DIY, something that she'd really picked up from her own dad. And in particular, Mary's decorating skills were phenomenal. She rarely needed anyone to carry out jobs in her home. She just got on with it. Mary also loved watercolour painting and amateur dramatics. Whilst based at Kit Green, Mary threw herself into producing a show at Wigan Little Theatre to huge success. But that was her, whatever she tackled, it was always to the best of her abilities. Mary was always on the go. She and Marjorie or Lynn often went on road trips to various flower shows all over the country. And when Stephen and Catherine owned the garden centre at Botany Bay, they'd often be found showcasing their goods at prestigious flower shows, such as Hampton Court or Tatton Flower Show. Now, one year in the midst of show week, Catherine and Steve attended a wedding, so Mary, along with Lynn, were roped in to help run their stand. Mary and Lynn were chuffed to bits that they even managed to sell a disabled duck with one leg missing. But that was a thing about Mary, and this goes all the way through. She always set out to be the best she could, to the best of her abilities, and be successful in whatever she did. Mary enjoyed all sorts of holidays and adventures, which Lynn's notes will share with us later, but one recollection was around the time she and Catherine had rented, and Steve had rented a canal boat. She adored spending time on that canal boat, feeding the ducks, and it really was one of her ambitions to buy a canal boat one day. It may be a good thing that she never realised this particular dream, as she may have struggled with her long Bambi legs, which often led to her being clumsy and falling over. Mary was a cat lover. For some reason, dogs always went a bit daft in her company. But it was her loyalty to others that was one of Mary's strengths. She had a small, intimate group of special friends. She worked hard at maintaining her friendships. She often met up with friends for birthday lunches. She and Catherine often caught the train for a shopping spree, and Mary would be the first to encourage you to treat yourself to something special. Mary often communicated with friends by text, although, to be fair, she used her own unique language that at times were mostly impossible to decipher. To know Mary was to understand she was never happy with her hair. Whenever she had it cut, she would go home and cut it again herself. She had unruly hair, and it never did what it was supposed to do. She spent a lot of time straightening it when in fact she should have just embraced her curls. As we summarise our thoughts today, we recall that Mary was very much her own person. She was strong-willed, yet witty and funny, with her own completely unique sense of humour. She was a bit like Marmite. You either got her or you didn't. She was never one to suffer fools gladly, and she always spoke her mind. When she found something amusing, she'd be crying with laughter, and her famous Bambi legs would just go from under her. She was loyal, dependable, endlessly capable, and brought joy and laughter to those who truly knew her. Mary lived her life her way. She leaves behind not just memories, but a reminder of what it means to be strong, practical, and unapologetically yourself. But very sadly, we lost 76-year-old Mary on the 29th of August. She's now reunited with her parents and her sister Viv and her Auntie Teresa and Uncle John. I'm going to read a really special poem to you now. This is called Reflections of a Boomer. I've seen fire, I've seen rain. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. I've gone to Kansas City, I sang in the sunshine. I've been on the road again with Georgia on my mind. Like a rolling stone, I've given peace a chance. I've put my camel to bed and danced the last dance. Mr. Tambourine Man played a song for me. I've whispered words of wisdom, let it be. I've fallen into a burning ring of fire and walked the line. To everyone I've loved before, you were always on my mind. I've been everywhere, I've been so lonesome I could cry. I've driven my Chevy to the levee, even when the levee was dry. I've been to Itchy Park in a yellow submarine. I've made the scene in a time machine. I've done the hokey cokey and turned myself around. I've welcomed baby back to the poor side of town. I followed the tracks of my tears down a long and winding road. I've kept on searching for a heart of gold. I've sought shelter from the storm. I've sat on the dock of the bay. I've rocked around the clock on a sunshiny day. I've knocked on heaven's door, blowing in the wind. Joy to the world, those were the days, my friend. Lay, lady, lay, in crimson and clover. It's been a hard day's night. The party is over. We're going to take a little break in our service now to listen to a song called Handbags and Glad Rags by Chris Farlow. Maybe take this moment to think of your own private and silent thoughts to Mary whilst we're still all here with her in chapel. And now on the screens above, we're going to be showing a photographic slideshow, which I hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Ever seen a blind man cross the road, trying to make the other side? Ever seen a young girl growing old, trying to make herself a bride? So what becomes of you, my love, when they have finally stripped you of the handbags and the glad rags that your granddad's had to sweat so you could buy? Baby, bye-bye. Once I was a young man and I thought all I had to do was smile. Baby, you are still a young girl and you bought everything in style. But once you think you're in, you're out. 'Cause you don't mean a thing without the handbags and the glad rags that your granddad's had to sweat to buy.
I'm now delighted to be reading a really special tribute to you that's been written by Mary's good friend Lynn, and I thank you for taking the time for me. These are Lynn's words. Roll back to 1993, the year the Grand National famously had a false start, the year I first met Mary. After 4 years of casually drifting around the world, I applied for a proper job via an agency and made it to interviews with Hines at Kit Green. To my surprise, I got the role working for Mary. I believed I'd made a great first impression during the interview and the factory tour. Years later, she revealed to me that her first impression was, "Who is this scruffy git with the rat's tails the agency have sent me?" All I can say is she must have taken pity on the scruffy gits at the time. She did a 2-for-1 deal with the agency by employing me and Thippy, also known as Mike Thipthorpe. And this was at Kit Green. We started in the best centre of all time, the Variety Centre. Mary was a great boss, knowledgeable, worked us hard if she could find us, and incredibly supportive. On the other hand, if you saw Mary's long legs striding towards you at speed with a bounce in her step, you knew to stand tall, hold your ground and say yes and accept all responsibility. For anyone who can remember Mary's desk, stacked with paper in every direction, you would question how organised she actually was. But to my surprise, she could always find the one piece of paper required in a pile of crap in an instant. As time progressed, I got to know Mary more during the extracurriculum activities outside of work hours. These arrangements were typically coordinated by our social secretary, Sylvia, and subsequently Susan and Joanne. This included temping bowling, playing pool, attending the Variety Centre Christmas party, and the occasional fancy dress or a party at my house. I could say more about some of these events, but as you all know, what happens on tour stays on tour. So for those of you who were there, your secrets are still safe, and we can giggle about the fun memories we've made. Mary loved to travel. She would take day trips to European cities with Sheila MacLaine and glamorous trips further abroad with the little sister Viv to places like New York, Boston and Montreal. Unfortunately, I did not have the coordinated fur hats, gloves, coats and scarves for this type of a holiday, so I had to convince her to go on alternative adventures where I could be scruffy. This included riding camels at dawn in the shower with PJs still on because it was freezing, to interrupting guards playing cards by the Great Wall and getting shouted at, to more adventures in Morocco, India, European cities and, of course, parts of Old Blighty. It quickly became very apparent in our adventures who the person was that booked everything and who was the person who just turned up with bags. The trip I was most nervous about arranging was her first to New Zealand and meeting my family in their surroundings. Coming from a farming background and with 5 older brothers, it is debatable if we were the Kiwi hillbillies or just a little feral. Following what I regarded as a respectful family lunch on her first day in New Zealand, and with the family's behaviour appearing appropriate, Mary later informed me that one of my brothers had repeatedly farted while sat next to her. My response was, well, that meant he liked you, and not everyone is so privileged. Whilst in New Zealand, Mary quickly learnt the art of sea fishing and excelled at it. Never experiencing seasickness like several of us did, we all said it was just beginner's luck. I mean, how could a Pom outfish a Kiwi on his own boat? On one occasion, I found bargain flights to New Zealand, the cheapest I have ever had. However, when I read the fine print, it was a no-alcohol flight. Yes, I was genuinely concerned for my health and well-being. It took me weeks before I had the courage to tell her of my error. At the airport, I raided the duty-free shops with miniature gin collections to take on board, and amazingly, we were not caught on the flight mixing these with our soft drinks. One holiday type I learnt to avoid was a beach holiday. Who else do you know, apart from Mary, that would pay for a sun lounger and umbrella and sit there in a long-sleeve shirt and long trousers? At least she wore sandals. In addition to this, I think she believed she would dissolve in salt water. How she thought she would rescue me if I ever got into trouble swimming is still a mystery. As years progressed, and after being stranded in a lockdown New Zealand during COVID, holiday adventures became UK-based in a small motorhome named Marley. Any of you here today who shared a small office with Mary would think that was a very brave thing to do. Adventures during COVID in Marley were restricted to day trips to Crosby Beach, the Wirral, Lytham, Southport and the likes. During this time, Mary developed a new hobby, ship spotting. With the assistance of the marine traffic app, she was able to identify all the passing ships, whether they were coming or going and what they were doing and what they may have on board. After the lifting of COVID restrictions, extended road trips throughout the United Kingdom became feasible, including journeys to Scotland and other regions. Again, in response to the organisation of these adventures, Mary was just collected at the door and was often unaware of where she was going. You cannot talk about Mary and not mention fashion. From shoes to eyewear and handbags, she either bought or made the best, and they were always made a statement of how she turned out. Even with fancy dress, whilst the rest of us would go and buy something ready-made, Mary would go that extra mile and just run up something on her sewing machine one afternoon just to outclass us all. She loved to accompany you on shopping trips and expeditions, as Jenny recalls. Feedbacks on any outfits would always be either totally brutal. Often, however, she would also come home broke buying things, you would come home broke buying things that you weren't going to buy. She'd say, it's a classic. You'll have it forever. Now, despite several shopping trips together and repeated efforts, Mary never really truly eradicated the scruffy git. Mary enjoyed music and dancing, as those who attended Christmas or informal gatherings will recall. We will not discuss the pros and cons between Dire Straits and U2 today, as Fiona is present. And we won't mention her dislike of the Smiths or John Denver, as Steve and Catherine are here. However, Mary was a Mark Knopfler groupie and was delighted to see him at the Royal Albert Hall with a hospitality ticket. Every tour he announced, we had to go. Other acts worthy of groupie status included Rod Stewart, Shawaddy Waddy, the Manfreds, so that she could see Chris Farlow, who toured with them. I'd heard of Rod Stewart. Mary also enjoyed musical shows and performances. My first experience with her was going to see the Pirates of Penzance, and I think she knew every word of every song. Cirque du Soleil became another favourite of hers, and later it became an annual event to go to the fantastic Royal Albert Hall. One year, however, we had to play our Northern Ignorance card to get out of a tricky situation. We could only get box tickets that year, and we assumed the water in the box was complimentary. Say no more, but we found out it wasn't. Mary was rarely without a cat about the house. They were very pampered and only had the very best in life, and it was a chance meeting in the front garden one day that she met Auntie Jean. They both loved gardens and cats, and Mary soon extended her Meals on Wheels service to Jean. We were used as guinea pigs for new recipes from one of Mary's numerous cookbooks or from a cooking show on the TV. To this day, I do not think I know anyone with a spice cupboard as full as hers. Meals from around the world were created in her kitchen with great passion. Auntie Jean used to receive notes from Mary's cats, either delivered in their collar or on a note or a card left when Mary went on holiday. Jean retained several of these notes and would like to share with you today. Auntie Jean, you are here at last. Most of the nights this morning, we had a visit from aliens. Mum kept running up and down the stairs, making lots of noise, trying to catch them or escape them. Her hair was getting frizzier, and she was shouting in a strange language. I think it was Wigan or maybe naughty words, Auntie Jean. I must confess, I kept hidden behind the sofa, making myself look bigger. I felt the earth move when Mum flopped on the sofa to smoke her peace pipe. The aliens must have gone. Auntie Lynn came and then they left with a big black box on wheels from behind the front door with aliens inside it. Phew. The good news is that I raided my pocket money and bought you some treats hidden in my secret hiding place. Well, you always bring me treats, so it was my turn. At last, we are going to have peace and quiet and lots of chats. Bring it on. Love you, Auntie Jean. Purr, purr. One last thing we must talk about, picnics. When we remember Mary, she could rustle up a picnic in minutes. She was always ready, even if it was only crackers and a flask of Heinz tomato soup. Many of you here will have been on one of these. It could have been a stately home amongst brambles, on folding chairs, or at the side of the road, a picturesque waterslide location, or just a car park. It didn't matter where to Mary. She even had a book in her car to log these and added photos of the locations just in case she ever wanted to return again. We all have different fond memories of Mary from the relationship we built with her over the years. A couple I would like to share, which appeared on the ex-Heinz Days Out chat page. Very helpful, humorous, and patient in capitals. Everyone had the highest regard for Mary. She was kind and lovely to all that crossed her path. For myself, she became my best friend and partner in all sorts of adventures and crimes. She made me smile and laugh with her crazy antics and her weird sense of humour, as well as supporting me through the rough times of living on the other side of the world with my family. You are like a diamond, valuable, unique, sparkly, classy, and I loved you deeply. I will finish with my quotes from her favourite book, How Green Was My Valley by Richard Llewellyn. But you have gone now, all of you that was so beautiful when you were quick with life, yet not gone, for you are still a living truth inside my mind. Please welcome Jen to the lectern, who's going to share some of her own special words.
Auntie Maz, I do not remember much from the early years of you being with us, but I know that you were always there. From coming over with the biggest cream cakes I had ever seen, which you and Mum totally devoured without hesitation, to constantly being in trouble and playing songs on homemade kazoos out of combs and toilet paper with my dad. You were just a strong presence in our lives. The story you love to tell me over and over again was about you and Mum taking Rachel and I to the grocery shop. You used to always get me in the trolley first, so Mum ended up with Rachel because she would always be grabbing things off the shelves as you walked her up and down the aisles, and I, on the other hand, would simply just sit and smile at everyone. This story would always make you laugh because Mum always ended up with Rachel every single time. From the minute I could walk, you had me dancing and wiggling my hips. You saw the performers in both of us as young girls, and we used to make you sit there for hours on end watching our made-up dances. I'm sure the gin helped with that one. After starting dance classes, the shows began, which resulted in the need of costumes, and often at a short notice. The alarm bells went off, and you came to our rescue to help Mum make the outfits. These could have been anything from ducks to bumblebees, birthday cakes, Hans Christian Andersen dresses, and even a full-size Joseph's Technicolor Dreamcoat. Your technique was unusual in that you made me lie down on the floor on top of the material, which that you then proceeded to cut around me. On reflection, I believe making the costumes was the easier bit for you compared to attending and sitting through the dance shows. I'm sure you and Dad used to sneak to the back of the room so you could both escape unnoticed. I used to love it when I knew you were coming over to ours, and those times were some of the happiest and fondest memories we have of you. You always looked so glam, from the shoes to the jackets, and do not forget the love of hats, especially a beret. You would sit down and you would have your cup of hot water, and I would just look at you in awe, taking everything in, especially anything that sparkled. Whether it be a ring, a necklace, or a brooch, I had to try it on. I've never seen anything that you had. I've never missed seeing anything that you had made a new purchase of, which is now my new motto in life, to never let anyone dull your sparkle. As we grew older, our times together became very much about quality time, with you treating Rachel and I and taking us out separately for our birthdays and Christmases. It was always a shopping trip and food, which I would look forward to every year. The drive to and from the shopping centre in your black Astra was just as fast as the speed that you used to make us walk around the shops. You would be off and I would be running after you and trying to keep up with my little legs. You always used to say, shoulders back, head up, chest and elbows out, and then off you went, walking with purpose. You always allowed me to try on the outfits that I was never allowed to take home. And I remember one time we spent so long in the changing rooms because I tried on a black fitted jumpsuit which my mum would not have appreciated, and I didn't want to take it off. Our shopping trips also led to my love of shoes, which is something else you kindly passed on to me, even though I've had to take them off today. Always buy the shoes first and then get the outfit to match, you would say, something which I have now passed on to my niece. Auntie Mary, you always treated us as your own. You were classy, crazy, proud, fiercely loyal, independent, strong-willed, but very stubborn at times. But you were the most amazing friend, auntie, and fairy godmother. Missing you hurts. Not having you here hurts. But the memories we have will keep me going. You lived life to the full and you left your mark on all our lives. I looked up the definition of fairy godmother, because that is what you are to Rachel and I. A female character who has magical powers. Thank you for everything. Love you to the moon and back. Always yours, Rachel and Jen.
Well done, Jen. That was just quite beautiful. Lovely to hear another perspective altogether. And she really was very special to you, I can see that. Losing someone that we have strong feelings of affection or love for is always difficult. And we all know that the circle of life never stops. It's still difficult to accept when someone has passed away, that their lives have changed forever. Somehow knowing others loved and cared for Mary really supports those left behind. So we thank you all for the role that you all played in Mary's life, no matter how small that role may be. We thank you all for being here today, as well as offering grateful thanks to those who have sent kind messages and cards of condolence. It really is very much appreciated. Thank you. If anyone wishes to make a charitable donation in Mary's name, the nominated charity is Cancer Research UK, and donations are accepted online. The website address is on the reverse of your order of service. After today's service, all guests are warmly invited to the Derby Arms on Church Road, Rainford, where we hope to share more stories and memories of Mary. Again, the full address is on the reverse of your order of service. As we lead through to committal, I shall now read the Irish blessing, but please feel free to join in with me if you wish to do so. The words are on your order of service. May the roads rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rains fall soft upon fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. The time has come for us to prepare ourselves in saying our final farewells to Mary. Throughout of service, we've tried to immerse ourselves in the life that Mary lived, whilst recalling the laughter we shared and reflecting on all that was important to her in her life. Today we've tried to honour Mary and surround our memories with love, and we thank Mary for the role she played in our lives. Whilst we feel sad, we promise to smile as we think of the footprints that she has left in our hearts. Please can I ask you to stand if you're able. Dear Mary, we've gathered here together today to support each other as we say our final heartfelt farewells to you, as we commit your body to be cremated and ultimately returned to earth. We have tried to express our deep feelings of sadness alongside our everlasting love as we try to comprehend your absence in our lives, and yet our hearts remaining full of the love that we shared. We will never forget the friendships we shared. We will always recall your positive outlook on life, and we thank you for all you were. Dear Mary, may you now be at peace and know you are loved. Please be seated. It's now time for us to go our separate ways. Please try to carry happy memories of Mary in your heart, and remember she would not want you to be sad for a long time. She'd want you to move forward in your own life, make the most of every opportunity that comes your way, just as she did. We shall close our service with our final piece of music, She Makes Me Happy by Rod Stewart. Thank you once again for paying your respects to Mary on her final day with us. Now shortly I will be exiting the chapel, and the funeral director will enter the chapel and show all guests to the exit. If I can ask you to walk around the building to the right, please. I'm just leaving behind those closest to Mary a few private moments with her, and they will join you outside when they're ready. We're also going to bless the flowers for the role that they've played in our service today, and we shall be dividing the flowers when we get outside around the corner. So please feel free to take a flower or two home, and you can admire them and think of Mary. Thank you for being here today.
When she's in my house, she makes me happy and I wanna shout. Now it's a funny old world, I never thought I could settle down. But then I met a woman gonna change my life around. Ah, the good Lord sent me down a little angel. Change my ways. No more late nights out without a boil, pissing my life away. She makes me happy with the downtown style. She makes me happy with a crooked smile. I go to bed laughing and I wake up smiling. She makes me happy. She's driving me wild. Woo-hoo. I'm a stubborn kind of fella, never thought this could happen to me. Oh yeah, I could smoke and drink and gamble just as I please. Now I'm working out daily and I'm watching my waistline. I'm rocking in paradise. She showed me love and it's a wonderful thing. She makes me happy, wanna sing, sing, sing. She makes me happy, can you understand? She makes me happy, I'm a reborn man. Every day like Christmas, around in my house. She makes me happy, yes she does. She makes me happy. She makes me happy.